Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to another edition of Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Colter. To my far right, we have the birthday boy, Kevin Johnson, KJ, my co-host, and today's special guest. I have a nice list for this guy.
Yes, come on with it, Jermaine.
He is CEO of Learn Loft and Leadership Development Company.
Yeah.
He was named one of LinkedIn's top voices in management and leadership. And he's also has books. He's an author, Building the Best and Proven Leadership Principles to Elevate Others.
That's what I'm talking
about. Success. All right. He's also a golfer, amateur golfer, and professional golfer, former Maryland golfer, and the 59th North Carolina amateur golf champion, John Eades. What's going on, John?
What's up, John? What's up, baby?
I'm just trying to look as good as KJ, man. That's all I'm trying to do, man.
Hey, he's a big distraction on the show with the suits. I tell him every time, man. Nah, it's all good. You look sharp, man. Happy birthday, KJ.
Thank you, man. Feel good being 41.
All right, no problem. Hey, John. So let the people know where you're from, John, and a little bit about your background.
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Born in Atlanta. Grew up here my whole life. Played high school football, played high school basketball, and I played golf. And, you know, they don't let 5'6" white guys, unless you're Rudy, play college football. So I had to play golf. But, you know, I'll tell you a really quick funny story. My grandmother, who's now passed, when I signed to play at Maryland, she's like, so are you going to play two sports? I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Come on, Dion.
That's what you've been doing your whole life, right?
I was like, no, you don't understand. I can't hang with those boys. Yeah. But no, I had the great pleasure of going to the University of Maryland, went on a golf scholarship, played 4 years there, and then turned professional, played 3 years of professional golf. And then I met a woman. And so it was time to hang it up.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
And so, I retired and then got my amateur status back, went into the professional world. I have two beautiful kids, John Ellis and Lucy. Been married 10 years to my wife, Amy. That's my story.
That's your story. That's great, man. So tell us what interested you, what put you into sports? Like, how did you end up playing sports? What was your inspiration?
I had two brothers, an older and a younger, and I was right in the middle. And so I always wanted to compete with my older brother. And then, you know, I was just, God gifted me some talents, and I caught up to him quick. And man, I just love to compete. I'm a competitor in everything that I do. And so sports was a vehicle to compete. And so that was my way to give it everything I had, try to win a game.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what position did you play in basketball?
I played center. No, I'm kidding. I played point guard. I'm 5'6", man. I only had one position they'd let me play. Okay, cool. But I never saw a shot I didn't like. Okay. I just gunned it out there. And then, but football was really my love, man. I think it's the best team sport in the world. Taught me so much about people and understanding people and being a team. And I just loved it. I loved the contact. I loved everything about the last time I suited up, I cried my eyes out because I knew I'd never put pads on again.
Dang. Wow. That's a bad feeling. I know how that feeling feels. So who's your favorite football team growing up? The Falcons?
No, the Panthers, man. Come on now.
You say you're from Atlanta. I had to make sure.
Well, I pull for the Braves because we don't have a baseball team in Charlotte, but I'm a big Panther fan. I go back to the Kerry Collins days, and still pull for them.
All right, cool. So talk about your high school career as a golfer.
Yeah, I was fortunate to play. You know, I was good at both sports, but golf I took off a little bit earlier, a little bit better spot for me to excel. And so when I got the opportunity to I kept getting better every single year. And I think that's really the key to life in many ways, which is, are you better today than you were yesterday?
That's right.
And that's the way I looked at it then, and it's the way I look at my journey now. Is can I get a little bit better every single day? There's a man. He was the British cycling coach, and the whole idea they hired the British cycling team was really struggling, guys, and so they hired this guy that didn't have a lot of history, and people laughed at the British cycling team. But this guy believed in something called the aggregation of marginal gains. And all this meant was that can you get 1% better in all of the key areas of cycling each day? And at the end of that year, at the end of 2 years, at the end of 3 years, it would make up a big difference. So I've thought about sports and golf and business in the same way. Can I be a little bit better than I was yesterday?
Great. And you took that transition from sport. Go ahead, KJ.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it back to football, man. Now, what position was you playing?
I played middle linebacker and fullback. We ran the wing. We ran the wing T. so
okay.
we ran those 32, 34 leads, and it was the best, man. It was the best.
What's up?
Did you guys go to the playoffs or play any championship games in high school?
I was the foundation of what became great. So I went to a school called Charlotte Catholic, and we had made the playoffs my entire career until my junior and senior year. But then after I left, they got really good, and they've won 3 or 4 state championships since. So they probably got better when I left, but I like to think of it as laying the foundation for what they became. Yeah, I'm a brick builder, man.
Brick builder. There you go. So, it's kind of the same story with me at Georgia State. We petitioned for a football team, started off at a club level, then it transitioned into a D1 school. So they actually have the program. The old Brave Stadium is now their stadium. So that's where I went to school, man. So go Panthers.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yep. So let's talk about your book a little bit. He's the author of Building the Best and Proven Leadership Principles to Elevate Others. Talk about that. How did you come up with that?
So as I retired from golf, I went to work for a company called Sales Performance International, a global sales training firm. And for a lot of athletes, they didn't take their education very seriously, and I didn't either. I was not one of those guys. I was thinking about golf, maybe girls, trying to get through school.
You know what I'm saying?
And but when I saw what really great professional education looked like, not what I had to do because somebody was telling me, but I saw that you could learn something and then apply it in the workplace to be more successful. It was like a light bulb went off for me, man. And all of a sudden I learned that like I had missed so much great stuff in college and in high school because I was being selfish and I didn't have this mind on upstairs. And so when I saw what that great, it changed my life. It changed my life to think about personal growth and development. And so I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And so through a lot of hard work, I got the opportunity to lead a team.
Okay.
And like most young leaders, when we started struggling, it couldn't be John's fault. It had to be somebody else. And so I blamed somebody else, and I called one of my team members in my office. And at the end of that meeting, I let her go. And she looked at me in the eyes, and she said, John, I didn't know where we were going, didn't know what we were doing, didn't know how it was helping us get there. And, man, when you got to sit in that chair and you realize that you failed your people and you failed from a leadership perspective, it's a tough chair to sit in, man.
Yeah, it is.
There's a guy named Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL. He says there are no bad teams, only bad leaders. And I was living proof of it. And probably a lot like Tommy West, Tommy Bowden. Oh, no, I'm kidding. But it was an interesting chair to realize that like I wasn't as good from a leadership perspective as I wanted to be. And I'm a faith-based guy. And man, when she left my office, I cried and I said, God, I don't know why that just happened, but I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that happen to other people. And so we started studying what the best and the worst leaders do. We've done it for the last 8 to 9 years now. And we put those principles in a book called Building the Best. So that's what that book's about. And your boy Dabo is in chapter 2.
Wow.
Oh. What's up, Dabo?
Yeah, Dabo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your relationship with KJ since it's his birthday, guys. Met.
Yeah, I mean, so KJ, yeah, I got you. KJ, you're 41, right?
That's right. That's right, man.
And what position did you play?
I played defensive back at Clemson, but at the beginning I played running back, and then transferring to a wide receiver. And from leaving, like I said, from finishing high school, going to play on the college level, playing defensive back was the hardest thing, man. I'm telling you. But I made it work.
You know what they say, KJ? If it's easy, it's not worth it.
Okay.
And no, I'm saying like that. It shows a lot about you and your character to be able to change a position in school. Maybe not what you went for. All these kids today would be leaving. They'd be going to look for a different opportunity. They'd be out.
That's right.
And I think there's a lot of character building that happens when you change and you do something that's really hard. Yeah. And you go on to be successful at it, whether you're an All-American or not.
That's true.
I think that's what life's about a lot, is how you handle challenge and failure. One of my mentors always says, John, failure is not final, failure is feedback. And I think of it like that, is like you didn't fail as a running back, you learned and you went to go play DB.
That's
so
true.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Yep. Good stuff, man.
Yep. So let's talk about playing at the University of Maryland. Are you still in good contact with a lot of your teammates? You guys still have that bond, vacation, things of that nature, man?
The best part about golf is you can play it your whole life. Where you guys aren't going to go play a baseball game or play a football game with pads on.
You're right.
And so when you play a sport like golf, video game. When you play a sport like golf in college, everybody's good. And so we stay really close. We go on a trip. 8 or 10 of us go on a trip every other year and catch up. Everybody's got kids and married. And it's just so much fun, the bond that you build. Even in an individual sport like golf, in college you played as a team. So you build these, not the same way as football where you're relying on the other teammate to carry their weight.
Yep. Yeah.
But the bond still is built. And I'll tell you a really quick story. I got the opportunity it came down to Clemson and Maryland to go play college golf. And my whole family had gone to Clemson. The entire family. Mom, dad, aunts, uncle. My grandparents are buried on Cemetery Hill.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Bleed orange, my man. Bleed orange.
Yeah. Okay.
And I went on a recruiting trip to Maryland. And we were playing Clemson in 2001. And Maryland beat Clemson to win the ACC championship. And they carried the goalpost to Frat Row. It was pandemonium. And I was like, I'm coming here, man. I'm coming here.
Okay.
We haven't won a conference football championship since.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what's up.
But it's a great place. Anytime you go outside of your environment,
yep.
You know, a lot of these kids stay home, which is great. But for me to go to Maryland, kind of coming from a small bubble that is Charlotte, North Carolina, it's expanded now. But at the time, I was coming from a small Catholic school, primarily white. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I'm in the University of Maryland. My roommate is from Jersey. He's Jewish.
Yeah.
And I was forced to expand. And it's probably been the biggest gift of my life.
Yep.
Outside of my faith and my wife and my kids, to learn and grow about the world. And so I'd encourage anybody to expand your network and learn about other people.
Yes. So who was the biggest teams in the ACC that you guys faced during your career at Maryland?
Clemson and Georgia Tech.
Okay, cool.
So, but the ACC has always been very good in golf. I mean, if you think of just this weekend, the Masters happened in Georgia, and Zalatoris, who finished second, went to Wake Forest. And there's a long history of players on the tour that played in the ACC. I mean, it's the best golf conference in the country. So tough competition.
All right. So you have a leadership development group. You have 2 books, and you have a podcast. Let's talk about the Follow My Lead podcast.
Well, like I told you guys, I wanted a way to learn what the best leaders did. And I didn't know a better way to do that than to ask people. Be curious.
Yeah.
And 7 or 8 years ago, I used to listen to this guy named Tim Ferriss, who wrote a couple books, kind of one of the godfathers of the podcast game, you could say. He was one of the first big podcasters out there. And I would listen to him every week, and I'm like, man, I'm just as curious as this guy. I can do it. I don't know. And so I went to the 10 best leaders I knew and asked them to come on the show, and they all said yes. And so we've produced a podcast every single week going on 6 years. Comes out every Wednesday. And it's been one of the greatest gifts in my life because it's been a working MBA.
Okay.
Just like everybody should write a book, in some ways, everybody should have a podcast, because not only do you learn from other people, but you get to ask the most curious questions that you can to try to develop the skills that you need to be successful in life. And so listening is a great way. Asking is even better.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So talk about your experience. Go ahead, KJ.
So what you think about Tiger Woods, man, as a golfer? Is he one of your top?
He's the greatest of all time. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But, you know, there's people that there's the word inspiration comes to mind. And the word inspiration, what it means, KJ, is to breathe life into.
Okay. All right. Come on.
And so when you think of Tiger and what he's done for the game of golf, or Tiger, what he's done for the PGA Tour, or for, you know, black athletes or Asian athletes, because his mom is Asian, like, he is inspired. He's breathed life into people, into a game, and to individuals that goes unmatched.
That's right.
So even if you think of coaching, like your coaches in your life, KJ, you had guys that breathed life into you, that challenged you, that molded you, that made you better. And then you probably had leaders that did the opposite of that. They sucked the life right out of you. They made you feel worse about yourself. And so when you think of people like Tiger Woods, you think about these great coaches that coach college football or baseball. The word that comes to me is inspiration, and Tiger's always been an inspiration to me, and I know so many other golfers.
Cool. Wow. Who did you grow up watching a lot and idolize?
My guy David Duval is his name. He played at Georgia Tech.
Okay.
I love David Duval, man. And I wanted to be David Duval. I wore the glasses like David Duval. I was just like you know, like these kids watching Durant or LeBron or, you know, you name your favorite quarterback in the NFL. The golf's no different. Everybody gets inspired by somebody, and David Duval was my guy.
Since we
who was your guy?
You, KJ?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Jordan, Deion Sanders. Shoot, man. Even the guy I played with, Michael Vick. I mean, I can go on, man. That Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
You know, they just had that attitude to never give up, you know. And I want the same thing, man. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna give you everything I have to get the job done. And you know, that's how I approach the game.
Yeah, mine was definitely Jordan. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He needs to do. He's got something. He got LaMelo with the Hornets now. We got something going on here.
Hey, it looks good. You saw that dunk. You saw the dunk by the other guy last night.
Except they lost.
I know.
But I will say it brings up an interesting point. There's a principle in the book, and it says people persevere because of purpose, not pay.
Exactly.
People persevere because of purpose, not pay. And not that money's not important, not that we don't need to provide for our families and do all the things that we want to do. But when you start thinking about KJ's purpose playing ball, or your purpose playing ball, or my purpose playing golf, when you believe in something and you know there's a deeper meaning behind what you're doing, whether it be your family or for achievement or for a team goal, we'll work harder, we'll do more. There's a term that we use in the book called self-discipline. And here's how it's defined. Someone willing and able to sacrifice what they want now for what they want more later on. Perfect. Now think about all those boys right now in the gym in spring ball.
That's right.
Right now.
Getting ready for something that's down the road, that are doing the work now. And I believe very much that teams are successful and people are successful because they have high levels of self-discipline and they create the habits that help them do that every single day.
There you go.
That's it, man.
Say $10,000 to be a professional. You got to put the work in if you want the results. Most definitely.
That's it.
There's a. I'll tell you. Well, I'm sorry. I'm on a roll now, man.
Go ahead.
You guys got me going, man.
We want the juice.
If you think about your life or what you're doing now, or think back to your days playing ball, there's something that we teach called the route to results. And what it says is that standards produce behavior. Behaviors become habits, and habits become results. I'm gonna break this down for you guys tonight.
Yeah, go ahead, break it down.
Standards, by definition, are what good looks like. Okay. Great leaders don't define what good looks like. Great leaders define what great looks like.
Yes.
So think of Clemson football when KJ played, the standard of Tommy Bowden. And think of the standard that now exists today with Dabo Sweeney. They're different levels, man.
Oh, boy. You better say it now. For real.
I mean, it's just a different expectation, a different standard. Now, that standard, whatever that standard is, will produce behaviors from people. A behavior is something that we have to consciously decide to do.
Yeah.
That behavior, when done 33 to 66 straight days, becomes a habit.
Yes.
A habit is something that you do subconsciously. Where do you plug your phone in at night, KJ?
Oh yeah, right by my bed.
Yeah, what do you do first thing in the morning? You look at that phone, don't you?
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's by me. Yeah, most definitely.
All that is, KJ, is a habit. Okay. You do it without thinking. Mm-hmm. There's a lady that is the mental conditioning coach at Notre Dame. I love her, and she says a habit is something that you do so often it becomes the very essence of your being.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I'm not saying you are your phone, but imagine then if instead of getting up and looking at your phone, you got up and you drank water, you worked out, or whatever that habit would be. Mm-hmm. So right now, once you get those habits in alignment and you're doing it without thinking, you're going to get the results that you want in your life. And that's what the best teams do. A coach defines what the standard looks like. The player's behavior reflects it. It becomes a habit, and they're in the gym without thinking, and then that produces results on the field.
Yeah.
Route to results. You just got it tonight.
That's it.
There you go.
Let's
talk about your time in the professionals. What was that like? And also talk about growing from there and playing with the best of the best coming from your area.
Yeah, I mean, like every time you go up a level, you realize how much better you really need to get. You know, you in high school, you're the best, and you think you're going to be playing against Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
And then you get to college and you realize, oh, I'm one of the best on my college team, but not the best. Uh-huh. And then when you start playing against other universities and colleges, I'm not even close to the best. You get better over 4 years, and then you take the leap to turn professional, and then you realize that you're really not the best.
Yeah.
And so it's this consistent journey of trying to get better each and every single day. And, professional golf's a grind, just like any professional journey. There are no guaranteed contracts. It's eat what you kill. Mm-hmm. And I ran out of steam. I wasn't getting better. I got in some bad habits, and it was just time to move on. And those are tough decisions for any athlete. Mm-hmm. But when you look at it holistically and you say, am I getting better? do I still want this as bad as I used to? And if I don't, maybe it's time to do something different. And that's the decision I had to come across one day. And it's been a real blessing. I'm glad I did it, but it was a tough decision hanging it up. I can remember that day hard.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you made a return and you played in the 59th North Carolina, you know.
Yeah, the cool part about golf is you can get your amateur status back. So, you know, it'd be like the equivalent of like KJ suiting back up to play like amateur football or something today, not getting paid, but just because he loves the game. Mm-hmm. Golf is like that. So you can get back and still compete. You get to play your whole life. And so I started competing again in 2016. And it's been so much fun, guys, like just getting out there and mixing it up and scratching that competitive itch and testing yourself against these young kids that are hitting it way by you. And you got to outthink them. You got to outthink them. Like,
that's right.
And that's when you get older and KJ 41 wiser, right? It's like you have to think better than them because your body and your strength can't compete with 24-year-olds.
That's right.
So you got to beat them upstairs, and that's what's been a cool journey now.
So talk about the strategies and the angles that you had to take on the difficult course that you had to win on during that time. I heard that was one of the most hardest courses to play on in amateur golf.
Well, like most things, the battle is won in your mind. Mm-hmm. So the self-belief that you can and you're good enough.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
And I know that sounds cliche to say, but if you don't believe inside that you can and that you're good enough, there's no way the results are going to display that.
Exactly.
And I learned a few of, I've studied this stuff a long time. And what I've learned is that our thoughts can either be negative or positive. And there's a man that wrote a book called It Takes What It Takes, his name is Trevor Mohad. And he says there's also neutral thinking. So you get to decide whether your thoughts are negative, neutral, or positive. If you choose negative thoughts, they are 4 to 7 times more powerful than a positive thought.
Wow.
Yep.
Now just think about that. If I don't think I'm good enough, or I'm not sure if I'm good enough, and I start to say, man, these guys hit it so much further than me, and I start comparing myself to other players or other people's journey, I'm start talking that negative talk to myself, and guess what the result's going to be on the other end of that negative thought?
It's going to be a bad game.
Bad outcomes. You're exactly right, KJ.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure our thinking is right first and our self-belief. And how do you do that? Repetition.
Right.
Visualization and repetition.
Over and over again.
That's right.
So that brings me to a clip that I have. You hitting that winning putt. You want to check that out real quick? 1 second.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Make it rain, Eades. Make it rain.
You saw it? I heard the crowd go crazy back there, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was fun, man. If there's something about like knowing you still can do it. And there's a time and a place where that runs out with age, but it was fun to still compete. And I'm gonna be in Columbia this weekend playing the Carolinas Mid-Am, and I get to compete again. I'm excited about it. So it's such a great game because it teaches the lessons that so few games teach, which is character and being your own referee and overcoming adversity. And it's an incredible game for life.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What's up? So your advice for a retired athlete, someone who's about to retire, and they're thinking about starting a business, they're thinking about starting something of their own, what is your advice?
Good questions, man.
It starts with understanding that you are not your sport. like you might have thought of yourself as a golfer or a football player or a baseball player, but that doesn't define you.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it has to start there, because you have to start thinking of yourself as not just a basketball player, or not. I'm a man and I have values and morals, or family, or I believe in a higher power. For me, it's Jesus. But my point is, like, it's got to start there, because if your self-worth and your self-belief is only in your sport, it's going to be really hard to get over that hurdle.
Yeah.
So this is where it's tricky. To be great in your sport, you can't start thinking about doing something else.
Yeah.
That's where it's tricky, because you got to be completely committed to it if you're going to be the best at what you do. So I don't want 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door, and 1 foot in, because you're not going to play at the same level that you used to. So I know we want to be thinking about what we might want to do later, but it can't be happening like while the season's going on. Like Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be going to do Monopoly mid-season. Okay.
No.
He can do it in the off season. He can't do it mid-season.
Yeah.
But it's like these golfers will turn their phone off. So I would start there. You are not your sport. And then 2, look for things that you're passionate in and about, and don't settle for living somebody else's dream.
That's right.
There you go.
Now, it'll be easy to settle because you don't know how to make money outside of your sport. And it might start helping build somebody else's dream. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I vehemently believe that you have to keep your eyes on the vision that you want for your life. And make sure you're doing things today that are going to help you be better tomorrow towards that vision.
That's right.
So if you want to, if you want to be a podcast network, you better learn how to sell. So go get a sales job. Like, go sell for somebody else, build the skill, develop the craft, and then go sell your stuff.
That's right.
So I'm sorry, I get passionate about that, man.
Nah, you good, bro. So what are your 5 daily goals?
That's too many, man. I can't. I'm ADD. I can't.
I tell you 5. I said 5. You said too many.
It's too many, man.
That's too many, man. That's way too many. I if I get one big rock a day, that's a successful day for me.
All right.
If I do one thing today, I always tell people in our workshops, can you write down one thing today that you did that's making you better tomorrow or getting you closer to the goal that you want? And I try to make sure I have one thing that I check off that list every single day. And now some days I get a lot of stuff done, but I make sure I get the one thing done that's most important. And I know what that is every single day.
Great, man. Great.
That's
great stuff.
Yeah.
So I want you to let everybody know your podcast, where they can find you at, your platforms, your social media, all this good news. Just go ahead and let the people know, John.
I appreciate that. LinkedIn is where we share our best insight and wisdom. We have a newsletter there with about 187,000 subscribers. So if you like reading about leadership, check out Building the Best on LinkedIn. And then we're doing more on Instagram. My colleague is all over me about being better on Instagram. So I'm doing my best. It's John G. Eades on Instagram. And then you can check out learnloft.com or johneades.com. Any of those places are great.
Okay. Any shout outs or anybody you want to say hey to, or any,
I would just, I've had a lot of great coaches in my life that poured into me and helped mold me as a man and as a competitor. And I still leverage and use that stuff today. My high school football coach died last week, and he was the head football coach at Charlotte Catholic for 40 years. And he died at the age of 85. And I'll never forget, man, he turned to me after practice one day and he looked at me right in the eyes and he said, "Eades, I don't know what's inside you, man, but if you didn't have it, you couldn't play on this team."
Heart.
He said, and I told him, I remember my dad told me this a long time ago. He said, It's not the size of the dog in the fight; it's the size of the fight in the dog. And I always adopted that, man. And I think you think of Dwayne Wade, yeah, you got to get back up, man. And that's the only way. This life we live in is hard. It's not. It's hard, man. And it's been a tough year and a half for people in all walks of life, in different races, different places of the country.
Yes.
And so I think about those coaches that poured into me, and it might seem insignificant at the time, but I was doing my first faith-based talk like a couple weeks ago, and one of my teachers was there. And man, when it was over, he came and gave me the biggest hug in the world. And he said, "This is why I teach." He said, "To see you talk like that and do what you're doing, like, it makes what I do really valuable." And so I just don't think we can overlook the impact people have had on your life when it might seem insignificant at the time. So I'd give a shout out to every coach or teacher out there that gets up every day to help mold the kids that aren't their own, but they treat them like they're their own.
Yes.
Man, I'm all for those people.
Man, that's great, man. And what's your message to the world before we head out, John?
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah, we live in tough times right now, so
patience is a virtue, man. And it is a tough world, man. And I want more conversations like this. I want more people doing what you guys are doing, trying to share stories of people and inspire people and help lift people up. I think it's really critical. And so that's my message today, man. It's like, don't stop. Like now, there's Galatians 6:9 says, "Don't grow weary in doing good. For in due time you will reap the harvest if you do not give up."
There you go.
So if you're doing the right things every single day and you're adding value to people's lives and you're pouring into people, and I mean, there's got to be some substance behind the way to monetize it and all that stuff. But like, don't grow weary in doing good, man. It is worthwhile endeavor.
We thank you. We thank you for being a part of the show. We thank you for the message. And on that note, we always say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. My name is Jermaine Colter. I'm the host of the SportsShop27.
Hold on, Jermaine. Hold on.
I'm a co-host of the. Go ahead.
Hold on,
all right,
Jermaine,
my bad. Go ahead.
Now, we have a golf tournament to go to, Brian Mans, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna need you to teach me some of them skills, man, before I go up there, man.
You know what you need, KJ? You need a ringer, man. I know one.
Okay, all right.
No, you'll be great, man. It starts up here, man. It starts up here.
Okay, all right. That's where it's gonna start at then. Let's do it.
All right. Hey, you guys just tune in to another edition of Sports Shop 27. I'm your host again, Jermaine Colter. To my far right, KJ, birthday boy. And we'd like to thank special guest, John Eades. We'll see you next time. Until then, wear your mask and be safe. Later.
Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
You got it, man.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, KJ.